Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to our architecture tour of Dishonored, and this is a pretty grim start to the second video, isn't it? So after the intro, the game puts us in prison. This is a prison cell, and you start off in here. There's really two ways to look at the prison. The first way is to go through the gameplay. But if you do that way, you kind of going through the building backwards. So actually walking backwards is easier to understand the architecture. It allows you to more easily understand the architecture. Anyway, so here, what can we say about this cell? Well, first of all, it's concrete. And I mean, concrete already is less humanizing than bricks and stone blocks. Because if you have bricks, a brick is, like that big, or a concrete block is like that big. And it's like there are things you can hold in your hand, and so bricks are things that you can understand and engage with on the scale of your hands and your body, whereas this concrete, it's just kind of smooth, featureless. Well, I mean there's cracks in it because it's supposed to be poorly maintained, but like these kind of really tall walls of just smooth, featureless concrete. Can you see that? It's actually quite dark in the video. The smooth features of concrete, it's less. There are fewer clues as to what it is, and there's fewer things that are at human scale. So it is, it's also, I mean, it's also concrete, and you know what concrete is like. It's cold, it's hard, and so everything is sad in this prison, basically. Also, that toilet is bad. And as you look out, there are more walls and towers and clouds, and so everything is oppressive here, right? Which is the whole point, really. Okay, so let us walk outwards. We're not going to play through this, so there would be guards trying to stop you if you're playing the game, but we have dealt with them. You'll notice there's a lot of really tall spaces. And in a way, this doesn't really make sense, because all these tall ceilings is basically a waste of space. I mean, if you want to design an efficient prison, you would put a floor there and have another cell there, and then put a floor there, have another cell, and then put another floor there and have another cell. In this space, you could have 4 cells, and you could house 4 criminals. But the tall spaces are intimidating because it's big. That's all there is to it. It's just a big tall space that's intimidating. So practically, if you were a practical person, you would put more cells in. Are those doors? Is that a... Wait a minute, why would there be a... Well, that's just weird now. That's... Wait a minute. There's a door on this side. Is that a door? Those are doors, right? There's a walkway up there, and there's doors on one side but not the other. Okay, well that's just weird. That would be wrong, in fact. I don't know what's going on there.
Attention, the solitary wing is off limits to maintenance crews.
Yeah, so the tall spaces, it's intimidating because they're tall and they're big. But other than that, they're actually rather impractical. I guess in the hallways you might have tall spaces like this, but not in the cells. So as we walk around, we can see tiles and concrete, and of course steel bars for security, and of course concrete floors, and everything is unpleasant, right? Oppressive and unpleasant, and grey, bright lights and sharp shadows and all that. I mean, we don't need to talk too much about how oppressive this is. Anyway, let's keep walking. So as you play the game, you would kind of work your way through a few guards, climb up there. There's also a staircase back here. And then when you get up here, this is where the guards are supposed to be, I think. I don't think the prisoners are supposed to be allowed up here. When it says yard, okay, this is where the... So it says yard, but you go through here and it's more corridors. Your yard is actually out there, which you can barely see. So it's out there if I can jump up and down a little bit. So again, you can't see very much. But there is a yard down there, and again, it's the very tall concrete. If you remember in the last video, we looked out. So there was the palace, and there's a city, and then on one side of the palace, there was the Art Deco big concrete thing. I think that building is in fact this building. The shapes of the buildings, the shapes of the architecture is pretty similar. So I think the prison, we could see it from the last video.
Attention.
There's another thing out there. So you don't really go through the yard, you go through the corridors, the security corridors to the yard. And then you come down these stairs, and the yard's down there, right? More cells on the other side, but we can't actually access those. Over here we have the interrogation room, and this is the first bit of color, isn't it? This is the first bit of color we've seen in the whole prison. And it's this, I guess there's some red banners there too. Red banners, intimidating faces, and then the interrogation is here, order shall prevail. And again, a giant painting, big things to intimidate you. I mean, the point of a big painting is to make you feel small, right? So a big painting to make you feel small while you are tied in that chair, and they poke you with hot irons and things. Interrogation is more like torture, isn't it? More like a torture room. In fact, is there blood? Oh, there is blood. Alright, well, there's blood there. You can figure out what that means, right? It means they're not just asking questions. So we have exposed pipes. This is a storage room, I suppose. Behind the interrogation room. And are those water boilers? Is that what that is? Anyway, machinery. Continue to be really tall spaces, just receding into the shadows. You can't even see how tall it is. Again, it's just big. It's just trying to tell you that this place is big, and therefore you are small. It's not that sophisticated, but it is effective, right? If you want your architecture to make people feel small, this is how you do it. You just make the architecture big. So here we get to see the exterior. And as you remember, the building that we saw from the palace looked a lot like this, doesn't it? And again, a lot of really tall shapes, like the long vertical lines to emphasize the verticality, to really make sure you understand that this thing like stretches upwards and then everything is pointing up, and so everything is tall. I mean, at least they're consistent, right? If they're trying to make you feel small, you know, like big, long lines pointing into the sky contributes to what's making you feel small. And also the featureless concrete. And in fact, I'm not even sure how they how they would have built this. Because concrete, if you don't know how concrete is made, I'm pretty sure you do. So concrete is a liquid. So you have cement, and you have aggregate, and you have water, and you mix it up, and then you pour it into a mold. And then after a while, the concrete cures and it becomes a solid, right? So it's like a jello mix. So it turns from a liquid into a solid. So in order for you to make a giant concrete shape, you have to also have a giant mold, and then you pour the liquid concrete into the mold to make the giant shape. And what happens with that is that you often see the shape of the mold in the concrete. If we come back here. Look at that. Actually, can you see that? It's pretty dark in the video. Let me just try and find somewhere where there's more light. So there, you can see, first of all, a few marks in the concrete. And also there's lines there. And these aren't decorative. This is where like the mold, like if you have like a timber mold, you have like planks of wood. Then when you cast the concrete against the timber mold, it would pick up the wood grain, right? I mean, there's no wood grain here, so if you have a metal mold, then you would have like the seams in the metal and the welding joints and the bolts and the screws, holes, and everything that's in the metal mold will be observable, printed onto the concrete when it's set. And so if you can see patterns like these in the concrete like that, see that line there? I guess it means that that's where the structure of the mold is. So there's like a panel, maybe like a metal panel, and then like a metal bar, and then another metal panel and a metal bar. And so when you pour the concrete in kind of pieces, you have a mold on the bottom, you pour it, and then you move the mold up, and then you pour the next bit, and you move the mold up, and you pour the next bit. And so, because you don't have a giant mold, right? So you do the wall in pieces, then you can see the lines in between where one pouring and the other pouring. Like, you pour one bit of concrete and you pour the next bit of concrete. So there's a line where you kind of move the mold up. So when you see marks in the concrete like that, you can tell how it's made. And because this thing is like, I don't know, 2 meters from one line to the other, I mean, it's a human size. It's a human size thing. You can imagine people moving these 2-meter high pieces of molding into shape, and then they pour the concrete. But if we walk back outside and we look at the stuff here, there aren't those patterns on the outside. It's just completely smooth and featureless, and there are no lines. And so you imagine in your head that it's just one giant thing with one continuous mold all the way to the ceiling, which is probably impractical. But then because there's no lines there, you can't tell how they did it, and so it's a little bit more alienating, right? Like if you again, like you go from the bricks, which is like one brick on top of the other put together by hand, like you can tell that somebody used their hands to do it. And then you move up to the mold that's like 2 meters tall. I mean, okay, it's bigger, but you can still imagine a person moving a 2 meter tall molding along the thing and then pouring concrete. But then this, you can't imagine a person having like a giant 5-story mold. Like it's less and less humanizing as you increase the scale. I mean, it's still possible to have a giant mold like this, but it'll be built by machines. Like you need like cranes and machines and things like that to do this. And it becomes less human and more mechanical, is the point that I'm trying to make. And so the bigger your building is, and the fewer features there, or the fewer little details you can find, the more alien it seems, or the more mechanical it seems, the less it seems like a person has put this thing together by hand. And that's what the outside of this structure looks like. Like, you look at that, it's like, how did they actually build that thing? I mean, and also it's more impressive too, because if it is a giant machine that built this thing, then whoever built it has giant machines, and so therefore they are, rich and powerful. So all of these things are communicated to us through this architecture, right? And again, everything is vertical. Over here, we see this glowing thing. This is whale oil, although the game by this point has not yet explained it to us. Whale oil, I mean, the whales in this game are magical. I think they're magic whales, but their oil glows, and it's also very energy dense, and so it's better than crude oil in our world. And this is the thing that's powering the new technology. So the Industrial Revolution in this game is based on whale oil, and this is some of the machinery there. So it's vaguely familiar, but it's also vaguely alien in the sense that it's not quite our technology. Although you might imagine, you can imagine how this would work. If we had, whale oil like this, then we would make machines that are similar to this. Anyway, let's keep moving up. So on the other side of the yard, we get to... this is the entry of the prison. In fact, the front door is right there. So the control room is here. This is... I mean, this is partially plausible. So this is the control room. This is where everything... oh, I killed the guard. This is where everything is controlled from, and you can see buttons and kind of audio systems and money that we're gonna take, and that's a switch that opens the door. So this is fine as it goes, except that this would be like a guard station as well as a control room, but it doesn't actually overlook anything. In a real prison, you would want your guard rooms to actually overlook where the prisoners are so that you can keep an eye on the prisoners. So the fact that this overlooks nothing is a little bit strange. I guess it overlooks the entrance. But the fact that this is completely open, so that you can run straight out, is also strange. Usually in a real prison you will have multiple gates to maintain security. I mean, there is one gate there, but it's only one, like you don't even have a double gate. If you have double gate, you can open one and then let them go into the middle, and then you close this one and you open the other one, and so that like you can never just run straight out. Like if you only ever have one of the two doors open at any one time, you can't just run straight out to get out. So, but then here, like we have, I guess there's a second door there. Look, a real prison has more doors. I'm just gonna tell you that. A real prison definitely has more doors. And also, if you're paying attention, you will notice that here, back here is where we started the game. We started the game in that cell there. It's also strange that the cells are so close to the entrance. Oh, we can open this. Alright, well. I guess we can open it from the other side. Or maybe we can open it after we open the gate. Anyway, so we can go back to our cell if we want to. Let me just keep going out to the front door. And then we'll look back. Again, vertical, a lot of concrete and pipes. I'm not sure if so many pipes should be in the front entrance like this. Are these pipes, are they retrofitted? They don't seem to be retrofitted into the building. But they're exposed. I mean, part of it is for gameplay reasons, because what you can do if you're playing the game, you can jump up onto those pipes from there, and you can sneak your way out. So I guess they're there for gameplay reasons. In terms of architecture, I'm not sure if it makes sense to have exposed pipes in the front entrance of your building. Alright, so this is the front entrance. So remember I said at the start that the building makes more sense if you go through it backwards from the gameplay. So imagine if you're coming in the front gate, order shall prevail. You come through the front gate, and there's like a guard post here, although the security is not very good at the very front gate. And you go through a second gate, and then there's more security back here. And then on one side we have cells. On the other side we have more cells. It's not quite symmetrical, but you can kind of see that there's more cells back there. So there's cells on one side, cells on the other side. The yard is in the middle of the prison, with guards watching you from up there, although you can probably hide from the guards by being directly underneath the guard post there. So in terms of security, this is not... it's not correct in terms of a real prison. But in terms of the game and the gameplay, it's fine, I guess. The prison, there's security issues with this prison design. Anyway, so there's cells on one side, cells on the other side, a yard in the middle, and then at the back of the prison, we have interrogation room and also machinery and storehouses, etc. There are a number of things missing, like prison showers and kitchen, and I guess weapon room, and offices, and like janitor closets. I mean, you might think that's janitor, but why is that? There's a lot of cleaning to be done in prison because there's a lot of people in prison who aren't necessarily tidy and clean. Anyway, so the building, as I said, is easier to understand when you go through it backwards from the gameplay. So from the gameplay, you escape the cell and you walk around in a big circle to get out. But if we go through it backwards, come in from the entrance, then it's easy to understand. It's basically, there's an entrance, there's cells on both sides, there's a yard in the middle, and then there's the interrogation and services at the back. And that is the layout of Dunwall Prison. This is Dunwall Prison, right? Let me just... mission clues, mission items, notes, inventory. It doesn't say... Does it say what mission we're in? Not really. Oh, that's weird.
Escort through the solid
Okay, so I
surface
think
must be
this
scheduled in
is
advance, with 1 week's
all we need to
notice.
say about the interior. I mean, we're inside one building, so there's not anything to compare, right? So there's only once you've seen one bit of concrete, you've seen the whole thing. Like there's not much variety in this part. Let me just think. Nope, we're done. Alright, let's get out of here. So there's a little bit of gameplay here because we need to break out of this door. Let me just come over here. So you're supposed to plant the bomb on the door to blow it up. That's the wrong button. Right, and then we're gonna run out here. Oh, you blocked the door, the bridge raises. Is that the palace back there? Hold on. Okay, that is the palace back there. And that's the metal bridge that joins the palace with the prison. Oh, it is! It is the building. Okay, there's guards down there. Let's not aggro them. Oh crap, they see us. Alright, let's get out of here. We can't go out into the ocean. Before they shoot us to death, let me just come over here. We're supposed to come this way. And we can get one last look at the prison there, right? So again, from the outside, it's just this kind of giant concrete thing. And everything is vertical and there's no... It's very dehumanizing. The scale of it is very dehumanizing. It's just... There's nothing for your body to relate to, and by that, I mean... if you have windows, if you have chairs and benches and things like that, like something that is about the size of your body that you can relate to, then it's humanizing. Like you sit down on a chair, the chair is for you, is for your body. Whereas this whole prison, everything is just way too big. I mean, way too big to the point that the cells are, for some reason, way too tall and wasting space. But the design of it is meant to make it feel like you're not meant to be there, right? Because you're too small to fit in those spaces, and so in that way it makes it seem more alien and less human. Should we walk through? No, I'm gonna end the video here. Alright, I'm gonna end this video here. The next one, we're gonna go through there and we're going to go into the sewers. Alright. I'll end this video here. Alright, see you in the next one.